here from Grow Food Nation, and today I'm super excited to talk with you about microgreens. A microgreen is that second phase of plant development or stage of plant development where it's not a sprout, but it's not a baby green. So a baby green is that kind of salad mix you see in the store that's very tender and small leaves of lettuce and stuff like that, or spinach. And the sprouts are like bean sprouts, you've seen those. And the difference between a microgreen and a sprout is that you are not eating the root. You're snipping it off and you're eating what's called the cotyledons and the stem. So it's different from a baby green because these cotyledons are not yet true leaves, and that's the difference. It hasn't yet gotten to that stage. When you're growing these, you'll see in the middle there's these little tiny leaves about to come. Those are the first true leaves, but you're harvesting it before that. So that is the difference between a microgreen, a sprout, and a baby green. And these are super delicious, packed with nutrition. And what's so great about microgreens is that you can grow them in any container inside your home, and you can be harvesting fresh greens within 1 to 4 weeks. These took me only 10 days to grow, from starting just from the seed, soaking it, doing all the things necessary, and now to harvest. So it's a great way to add more green things to your diet that are very easy and tasty. And so let's go ahead and dive in and talk about how to grow your own microgreens at home. Okay, so now we're going to talk about soaking your seeds and then preparing your soil for your growing tray. So I have sunflower seeds right here. They're black oil sunflower seeds and organic. And then what I want to do is I want to soak them either overnight or up to 18 hours max for sunflower seeds and your larger seeds. If you're using smaller seeds like broccoli or something like that, you don't want to soak them more than 2 hours. That's not going to help their germination rate. So for the bigger seeds, it's helpful to soak them first. And especially true for peas, you can even start the sprouting process before you spread them on your soil, and that kind of just helps reduce wasted space. But for the sunflower seeds, I'm just going to soak them overnight, and then I'm going to go ahead and spread them on. But for peas, you can soak them overnight and then drain it in like a jar that has like a lid, like a sprout lid, and you can sprout them for about 2 days until they just start getting a little tail, which you also want to remember to rinse them off twice a day to prevent mold. So this is for your larger seeds. Your smaller seeds don't require nearly as much soaking to get the germination process started. So let's just begin here with my jar. I'm going to put some sunflower seeds in. When you are going to plant them and you're going to spread it, you're going to spread it in one even layer. So I'm just trying to eye this and see if I think that this will probably cover just the surface of this. This is what I want. So got my sunflower seeds, and what I like to do is put a little bit of kelp meal in here just for some minerals and a good start for the seeds. So just put a little bit of kelp powder. I'm going to put some in my soil too. I really love adding minerals to my seeds. Then I'm going to go ahead and use non-chlorinated water. You don't really want to kill the microbes that are going to support your plants. So just really swish around a little bit. Add some more. They really do like to float up to the top, so you want to make sure you get them all nice and soaked in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the top on this. And I'm going to set this to the side, and so overnight this goes, and then while this is over here setting, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my tray. So I just went ahead and got something that would fit into my windowsill specifically, and I went ahead and poked some holes in the bottom for drainage so that I don't get standing water. And I got this one specifically because it fits into the top. So that was my way of getting around a lack of materials that I need and being creative about it. So this is my tray. drainage holes and something to catch water in. Those are your two main things. Also, this one's about 2.5 inches deep. You just want to make sure it's about 2.5 to 3 inches deep for having enough soil to support your seeds in. So that's my tray. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some potting soil. You can use an organic potting soil from the store, but when you do get organic potting soil from the store, you want to look at the ingredients in it, because for me personally, I try to avoid any of the ones that have feather meal or blood meal or some type of manure in them, because you really don't know what kind of facility that came from and what heavy metals or maybe antibiotics it may be bringing with it. So I really just keep it straight to where it's plant matter or worm castings, organic materials that I don't have to really worry about sticking my hands into and stuff like that. What I have here is, this is already some half and half compost and potting soil, topsoil, and then I have here equal parts topsoil and more compost. For me, the topsoil here has so much sand in it, so I'm not adding extra sand. Really, the sand is to make sure that you have good drainage. So you want to make sure there's some sand. For me, I have plenty of sand. And then I have my minerals here that I pre-mixed in one of the other videos. Same idea. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and blend in my topsoil. I hope I have enough space in this bowl. And then I'm going to add in my minerals. And then I'm going to add in my compost. So maybe I'll go ahead and mix these a little bit. So I have the compost, and so what I'm just going to do is just going to massage this together. The compost is already very moist, so right now I'm not going to add water to this because I'm not quite ready to plant my seeds. So I'm going to wait to add the water until I am about to spread my seeds on it, and then I'm just going to make sure my tray is ready for me. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this into my container without making a mess, hopefully. Let's see. It's going to settle a little bit when you start watering it, so you might need a little bit more than you think you do. And just smooth it down. You don't want to pack it down because you don't want to, remove those nice air spaces. It's going to compact on its own with the water, so you don't need to put any extra pressure on it. So now that I have this smoothed down, I just have to wait until my seeds are done soaking, and then we'll come back and we'll go ahead and spread them on, and we'll see what the next process is for starting our sunflower seed microgreens. So now it's the next morning, and my seeds have been soaking overnight. You can see the water has changed colors and they've kind of expanded and they're a little bit more loose in the jar. And now I also had my soil covered overnight with a covering to keep it from losing all that moisture, because I don't want my soil to dry out once I have it in place. So I have that, and so today we're going to be spreading our seeds over the soil so we can cover it and let it start germinating. We'll just get started, and I'm going to go ahead and drain my seeds. I have a little bowl over here. I'm just going to check my moisture, and so now I'm just going to spread them in an even layer on top of the soil. So we'll just go ahead and sprinkle them on. And I have quite a few seeds in here, so I might go ahead and start another tray. Start with that. Then I'm just going to spread them over the soil and kind of press them into the soil a little bit too. So I have them pretty evenly distributed over top of my soil. Now I'm just going to press them down a little bit. You really want good contact with the soil. And then we're going to move on to the next step, which is to cover them with paper towels. You really want to go for an unbleached or non-fluorinated bleached kind of whitens paper towels. I'm just going to go ahead and see. Yeah, I'm just going to lay this on like so. I'll probably get another sheet for this side. Okay. This is just to make sure that your seeds stay moist while they're germinating. So now what I want to do is go ahead and water this in. Just go ahead and let that soak in. Okay. That should be good. And now what I'm going to do is I want to weigh them down. This is specifically for like sunflower seeds. If you want them to grow straight, I found that they need to be weighted down initially. And you can do this either with some tiles that you find that fit your growing container and then put bricks on top of them. But in my situation, I have this nice casserole dish that fits very nicely into my growing container, and I have a kettlebell. You don't want something super heavy. This is just kind of like, this is 4 kilograms, or like a standard brick would do fine as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this on for about 2 to 3 days, and I'm going to keep my eye out on the corner edges, and as soon as those start to push up and sprout up about a ½ inch, I'll go ahead and take this off, and I will let them start greening up and be exposed to light. You want indirect light because if you have direct sunlight, it can be pretty harsh and might damage your sprouts and microgreens. You can use grow lights as well. I'm just going to put it in my windowsill, and I'm going to rotate it every day to make sure they're not like leaning over too far one way or the other. So this is basically it. I'm just going to come back and check it for moisture levels. You never want to saturate it. You just want to keep it moist because you don't want mold to start growing. And also by covering it like this initially, that helps to keep it moist longer because it's not able to evaporate as readily. That's it. So I'll see you when we come back to check on them, and then we'll go ahead and start the rest of the process. Okay, so now that we are ready to take this off, I brought it over here to show you first that you can see that the little sunflower sprouts are poking up about a ½ inch, and that was my signal that it was time to uncover it so they don't get moldy and stuff. So I'll just take this weight off, take this off, and some of them are going to stick to the paper towel. I'm just going to have to peel them off and stick them back down in there. But you'll notice that what happened because we weighed it down is that it really got them into contact with the soil, and the roots were able to like really get in there. Yeah, it's quite warm in my apartment, so they went really fast. That's why you have to check them every day. And that should be good for the night. So we'll put these guys in the window, and then we'll come back to them once they've started growing some more. Microgreens that are ready to harvest, and it's been about 10 days since I soaked the seeds, so these guys grew really fast. It's really warm in my apartment, so that makes a difference. Let's go ahead and talk about harvesting and harvest some of these. So I just use a sharp pair of scissors. kitchen scissors that are clean. And what I do is I like to harvest from the base. And so I just kind of hold the top area. I'm actually going to start right here so you can see. If you notice there's still shells on these, you can just pick them off when you're washing them. So I just kind of single out a group of these that I want to snip. Otherwise, if you don't hold them, you're going to be picking them out of each other. It's going to take a lot longer. So you just kind of get right here at the base, and then you snip your first ones, and you can go ahead and start collecting them. And some of the shorter ones, sometimes I like to snip a little higher because I get kind of a buffer crop after I harvest all of them. That opens up new light to some of the other seeds that haven't quite grown so fast. And then I kind of, after I'm using these throughout the week, I kind of get to harvest again. And they're never as awesome as the first ones, but it's still continuous greens that I have to put on my sandwiches or salads throughout the week. So let's go ahead and keep harvesting. So I'll just take some of these. Nice. You don't have to harvest them all at once, but I've found that once they get to this size, it's just really hard to keep up with them. So that's why I usually do like a clean cut, and then I'll let them, because they'll grow slower after that and it'll be more manageable. So basically you're just going to keep doing that and put it into here, and you're going to just rinse it, wash it, pull off the little black shells, and then you can go ahead and stick it in your refrigerator. It's really good to make sure that they're dry before you put them in an airtight container because they could get a little slimy if there's too much moisture in there. What you can also do is just get all the excess soil off of them and just put them in an airtight container like this, and then wash them right before you use them. Either way, the idea is to make sure they're dry when you're storing them in an airtight container in the fridge. So that's it for harvesting, and I hope that you are enjoying your microgreens and that you're inspired to grow some. And these only took 10 days. Some of the other ones, depending on the temperature of your home, might take up to 3 weeks from the very beginning when you start all the way to the final harvest, but these only took 10 days, and you have fresh growing greens for your salads and to get all that nutrition in your meals throughout the day. So enjoy your microgreen growing, and I will see you next time.